It's time for the caucus meeting of the Florence City Council. The first item is the 2024 tax rates on real and personal property. Ms. Chapman, did you want to
Thank you, Mayor.
discuss your memo?
Yes, I went ahead and calculated the tax rates this year again based on the assessments received from the Boone County PVA. The maximum rates that were calculated were the real property tax at COM plus 4 at $1.83 per thousand. The special hazardous tax that we have, $1.54 per thousand for a total of $3.37 per thousand. Again, that's the maximum amount. And on the personal property, the tangible tax side, the maximum amount would be $1.86 per thousand. Again, the special hazardous tax that we have of $1.54 per thousand for a total of $3.40 per thousand. Again, that is the maximum amount that you could take for next year.
Anything else?
Nope.
Mr. Carroll, you did reach out to me, wanted to comment about this.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to all of us about this. If you'll notice, the chart shows what it's been like for the last 10 years. And actually, we have records that go back maybe 25 years. So we take the last year off each year, and the rate always has stayed the same. If you look over there, it's been very, very steady for the last 10 years at a total of 246 per thousand. And we've been very fortunate to be able to do that. At the same time, the economy is growing. The real estate values are going up. And I think we're in a position to reduce the tax down a little bit for next year. If you'll notice, we've been doing 246, and it's kind of been bouncing around on the hazardous special assessment for hazardous employees. And it's been 65, 65, 64. I'm going to make a suggestion that we reduce that down to 55 cents. And I think that would give us all a nice break in the city of Florence. And it's something that we can handle. Our economy is good. Our collections are good. And so when it gets around to it, I'd like to see us have a little conversation and actually buy into the idea of reducing that special assessment from 65 to 55. And that'll be my recommendation for us tonight.
Ms. Wingo,
Thanks, Mayor.
you want to bring your microphone down?
Oh, thank you. I was thinking along the same lines that perhaps we could put forth a reduction this year, but I was looking at the real property number. So I was thinking that perhaps we could bring that down 5%, which would take it down to $1.72. It's pretty much, we're talking about the same amount of money, I think, as far as the dollar, or as far as the 10 cents, I think. But I think the real property is what I was looking at versus the hazardous.
Okay, so just to be clear.
Yeah.
The real property total is the 246. So it's the
Right.
combination
I
of
understand.
the real property plus the
I
hazardous.
understand. I would
The real
leave-
property is the one that is limited to comp plus 4.
Right.
And if you cut that one, you lose the cumulative effect.
Okay.
So it's more advantageous to us in the long run
to
to
do the
cut the special
hazardous.
hazardous. However, there's an implication with that, because if you cut that hazardous duty
Yeah.
assessment, then not only does it affect the real property, but affects the tangible as
Right.
well. So if you just cut the real property, it wouldn't affect the tangible.
Right.
So there's pros and cons. And, it's obviously your pleasure as council, so.
What percentage would that be? Linda, do you know off the top? Just
I just calculated it, and if you lower it, it would be basically 3%. If you take the hazardous from 65 cents to 55.
Okay.
What would you do with the real property? What was your
That was calculated
calculation?
on leaving that at $1.83.
Okay.
$1.83 or $1.81?
$1.83. The comp plus 4 this year is $1.83. Reducing the hazardous from 65 cents to 55 cents would be a 3% decrease. The tax rate would be $2.38 as opposed to $2.46.
Okay, and that's kind of where I kind of, by my mash juggling, I came up at 237, so it's about
Okay.
the same.
Gary, did you have?
After we've had the standard 246 in place for so many years, taking it down that much, total of 3% total, that's a substantial reduction, quite frankly.
And I'd definitely be in favor of that as well. Again, knowing that we don't know what the economy's gonna do after this election, we don't know what next year's gonna look like or anything like that, but I would be in agreement with a decrease like that, absolutely.
And Linda, you have an idea about how much that would impact the budget to decrease the revenues?
Be roughly about $250,000 of the 3% decrease.
Is there any other discussion on that?
Mayor, I just say it's conservative, I think. It's not a large reduction, but I think it makes sense to consider this. Take a reduction now and see how things play out and what we can do in coming years. We don't know.
Next year, sure.
Yeah, but we take a look at it every single year, so I think that's a reasonable approach to take.
Let me just make sure I'm clear, Linda. So this is just discussion. We will have a property tax hearing. In accordance with the way KRS is, we have to advertise as if it's the maximum,
Correct.
but that doesn't mean we have to take the
Correct.
maximum.
Yeah, that's always been the case.
And so, and if citizens want to comment, they can submit written comments to our city clerk, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And they can weigh in on this situation. And then, once we have the hearing, we will have a first and a second reading on the tax rate as an ordinance.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So, is everybody clear on that? And so at that point in time, I guess, we'll be firming up for sure, putting in the language, the amount of the tax decrease that you all are comfortable with.
So my understanding is $1.83 on the real. The hazardous will be at 55.
Yes.
Okay. And then on the tangible, it'll be $1.86, and then the hazardous at 55. Okay. The $1.86,
Yeah, 2,
241.
1.
This has been long overdue. Great.
And it's so, in doing everything I outlined, we're going to be in compliance with everything we need
Yes,
to
ma'am.
do. Okay.
Sure, absolutely.
Is everyone comfortable with that?
Yep.
Leslie, David, Gary, everybody, okay, good. Okay, moving on to discussion of the parcel of approximately 28. Is that incorrect, Josh? Is it 18, it's about 18 acres, located on Gunpowder Road adjacent to city limits. Mr. Hunt?
Point the operator here, let's see. There we go.
Remember seeing that? You wanted-
All right, you can turn your attention to the screen. So to orient you with where this property is, if you're driving down Gunpowder from 42 and you go past Ridgeview Drive, probably a lot of you are familiar with the Lutheran church that sits there. This property is the outlined in red directly behind that church. So that is 18 acres. What the mistake was on the plot and what came out to you in a memo is this is a 28-acre development site, and that is currently before the Boone County Planning Commission going through a zone change request. But 10 of that is already within the city of Florence. 18, which is highlighted in green, is what's before you for consideration for annexation. So tonight, we're just going to discuss the annexation. The merits of the project, we will not discuss. We can talk briefly about, what was submitted for the public record, but before we get finding of facts and a recommendation from the Boone County Planning Commission, we won't get into the inner workings of what that project will be. We'll have that discussion in probably about 2 or 3 months. And at that point, we will do the zone change request ordinance reading and then simultaneously do the second reading of the annexation ordinance. That's how we typically do these. So this is a project been working on for a while. We work very hard on annexing properties that we think will benefit the city of Florence into the city of Florence. This is a local development group. It is BBD developers and KPD developers, but really what that stands for, it's Matt Dedden. Many of you probably know Matt Dedden, and J.J. Miller has been a builder around here for a very long time. They partnered up. They own the parcel in green, and they own this, which is already within the city of Florence right now for a total of 28 acres. Let me see here. So this is not a very good plan, but what you can see outlined on there are kind of what the multifamily homes are being proposed. So,
And there's single-family lots as well.
there is single-family lots a part of there. What is associated with this annexation and what is associated with the zone change request does not touch those single-family homes. I guess we could talk about that right now. So Los Alamos, I think that's how you say that street. It's off of Oceanage. So they own this one. There's already SR1 zoning through here that is approved for single-family homes. Probably very similar to what's back in here in Oceanage and that other little subdivision that's already within the city of Florence. These lots will be single-family homes and developed out. I don't know that it's necessarily going to have that road connection, but, and it's not even really a part of what we're discussing, but just so you know, there is a single-family, pretty higher-end, single-family housing component, a part of this overall development. What is really a part of the annexation is this multifamily piece here. And, they didn't submit the density numbers, but typically when you go from SR1 to a urban residential, you're getting a little bit higher density per acre. It looks like it's 284 multifamily residential units, and I have some renderings of what those units will look like to show you. If I can get there. So this is a typical Fisher product. These are, townhome products, and this is what was submitted with the Boone County Planning Commission application. I think there's one more. Yep, here's another one that, higher end architectural features, pretty high brick count, cementatious board, good looking product. And ultimately, when we're working residential property deals, we look at this. We want to make sure that we get, really good design standards, something that's going to be a good community, look good for a long time, has amenities, has things like that. There's many elements of this plan that is very early on. It's just submitted to the Planning Commission. We still have to work through that stuff, and we will. But for the purpose of tonight, what we're really discussing is annexing that property into the city of Florence. So this 18 acres here. As most of you know, there were some changes to KRS about how annexations can work. You have to notify the fiscal court, give them a 45-day notice saying that you're going to annex in if it's a consensual annexation, and this is a consensual annexation. But the good thing is we're not taking final action to this for months down the road, so we meet that timeline, right? So the request before you is to annex this 18 acres in. Next week, I did find an error on the plat that they submitted and their legal description that they need to change, but so hopefully by next week we'll get that corrected. Before you will be legal description, plat, consent to annex forms, this map, and you will take first reading on it. Doesn't tie the city to anything. It's not final until we do the second reading. So there's no harm in going ahead and taking this annexation. In a lot of ways, what it does, the main purpose of it is it tells the Boone County Planning Commission who to send the finding of facts to, the resolution to, the municipal body that will have the ultimate deciding factor on the zone change request. And like I said, that'll probably be 2 or 3 months from now. So any
Any questions?
questions?
That street along the top, what does that say?
It is-
Elizabeth. It's in Eagles Landing.
Yeah,
Kelly Louise, Grace.
mostly
Or
unincorporated Boone
Ridgeview.
County.
You talking about Ridgeview?
That's what she's talking
Ridgeview's in the county.
Yep, everything in green outside of what I have, well, technically what's highlighted in the red is in the county. So everything in green is unincorporated Boone County. The tan line is City of Florence. The pink line is City of Union.
Any other questions?
Will that be tying in with Grace Drive and that project in that area?
So that's a great question. I know that came up at the public hearing. The main ingress egress points for this, there will be 2 connections to Gunpowder. You know, I think the developer and the county, who ultimately maintains those roads, are kind of discussing, will they allow it, how it will impact that existing single-family residential community? Will they allow that connection, or will it just be like an emergency fire access point? Probably that's where it's going to end up. But off of Oceanage, which is that little street, I think it's called Los Alamos.
Los Alamos, I think.
Los Alos, is that what it is? Yeah, that will connect through.
As we're talking about this, there are plans for widening Gunpowder.
Correct.
area. Can you share those with us?
I do not have the renderings with us, but we do know that there are sections of Gunpowder Road that do flood. And that there is funds allocated for widening that and getting it a little bit higher out of the floodplain. I don't have the timelines off the top of my head, but I know that it's coming. This developer has been made aware of that, and there's going to be no structures, or there's not going to be any kind of setback issues. He's taking account for the additional right-of-way that'll be taken for that road project.
You estimate that that's going to be a 3-lane or a 5-lane?
Eric, you remember? I don't remember at this segment of it. We can certainly find out. But we worked hard on getting this annexed in. I mean, you guys have been a part of enough annexations to know that they're difficult. Sometimes they'll take years to get them through. And we're happy that they're at the table. This is consensual, which is key. And they're good developers. They develop stuff all throughout Boone County.
Any other questions? All right. Next is the mayor's report. We have- And just a reminder, the Florence Aquatic Center is open on weekends, Saturday and Sunday through Labor Day from 11 to 7. The virtual open house for the Parks Master Plan is now open. The link is on our website and social media, and we appreciate you taking the time to share your thoughts with us now through August 31st. The city's Arbor Day celebration will be held on Saturday, September 21st, beginning at 10 a.m., and will be held at Stringtown Park, 7340 Burlington Pike. And if you need more information, contact the Public Services Department at 859-647-5416. Join us for a neighborhood night out on Tuesday, September 24th from 5 to 7 at Kennebu Park. There will be food available for attendees. It's a great opportunity to come connect with city officials and city personnel. The Florence Police Department will hold their Police Citizens Academy beginning October 9th through December 4th. This 8-week class will be held on Wednesdays from 6:30 to 9. Applications are available on the City of Florence website, and please contact the Florence Police Department at 859-647-5420 for more information. Anyone on council desire recognition?
What time is that night out?
5 to 7.
Thank you.
Any department heads? Anyone in the audience? Seeing none, there's no need for a closed session, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Nguyen, second Mr. Carroll, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.